So I've had some questions about homework 5, and I will be the first to admit that homework 5 has some serious issues here in terms of the availability to data. So rather than spend a bunch of time trying to correct things as I cannot from my house just because the downloading these files are just too darn large, I need to have much faster internet. I'm going to run you through some basics of what I think you can accomplish with homework 5. Some of these questions you actually are not going to be able to answer just based upon the existing raster data sets. So I'm going to switch us over here to ArcMap, and basically I'm going to start us off with this fire history geodatabase that you downloaded. It contains some of the data that you already need. For example, this Oregon counties data set is already in there, and some of the ones that I've added. So what I basically want you to do is focus on Oregon counties. So the biggest thing in these at this particular point is select by location, create layer from selected features, that type of stuff. You could also clip if you want to by this point. But I want you to focus on Deschutes County. So first thing I would do is select Deschutes County from the counties layer. So you can go ahead and turn all these different layers off if you want, just to be able to select that. I have Deschutes County already created here, but I'll show you what I mean by that. So I just have the counties layer now. I'm going to select Deschutes County. I know that's Deschutes County, but if I did not know that that was Deschutes County, I could right click, open my attribute table, and I could scroll down here and find Deschutes County by the actual name or this alternative name field here. So either way there, I want to select Deschutes County. I'm going to right click on Deschutes County or on the Oregon counties feature class, down to data, export data, and that's going to selection, create layer from selected features, and that's going to give me a temporary selection file. And then from that, you can then export that file. So I could right click on that. It's going to be Oregon County selection. Now I'm going to go down to data, export data, and then I actually want to possess that feature class. So in this situation, that's what I did. And I have this Deschutes County layer here. So Deschutes County now is what we're going to be dealing with, and that's what I actually want. I want you to focus here on Deschutes County in this particular example. So you can bring in your fire points from 2010. That has most of the data that you're going to need. You can also bring in this fire poly. This is more of the recent fire history polygons. Some of these older fire polygons, you can bring those in as well. But it's definitely going to be a little bit more of a challenge. What I would like you to do though is focus just on Deschutes County. So if we zoom to our fire poly layer here, you're going to see that's going to cover a tremendous amount of area, all outside of Oregon up into Washington and so forth. We don't want that data. So I want you to get rid of that. And how you can do that is either by a selection, or you could clip it if you wanted to at this point. I would probably do it through a selection. So I can select by location. So I want to select from Fire Poly. So Fire Poly is going to be my source layer then is going to be Deschutes County. And then this is where your selection methods are going to be variable depending upon what you're going to do. If it intersects the source layer feature, that means if it overlaps the line, then it's gonna select it, and we can play with those differences and so forth. If it's completely within the source layer feature, so that means that polygon has to be all the way in, that's probably not going to be the way to do it. So let's try it with this intersect the source layer feature. Go ahead and hit apply, and then go ahead and hit OK. And it's going to select those polys, those polygons that are that are within or touching the boundaries essentially. So you can see this one over here just was in the corner of Deschutes County. Now, what's nice is that preserves the integrity of that polygon, because let's just pick on this fire real quick. You know, only a segment of this burned into Deschutes County. It probably burned from Deschutes County into the adjacent county is what happened. So if we there's different, if we clip this, for example, we would get rid of all of the polygon other than this little corner here. So if I was asking you a question like how many acres were in Deschutes County, yeah, you probably could do that through a clip and that would be adequate. But now, you know, with this, so I'm going to right click, point down to selection, create layer from selected features. And then we're going to, that's the fire poly selection. We're going to right click on that, data export data, and we're going to export that as Deschutes County. It's going to go to my default geodatabase over here because that's what I have it as highlighted. So I'm going to just hit OK. I'm going to take the default name of what it is and say yes. So they call it export output. I'll rename that here in a moment. So I'm going to right click, remove this layer because I no longer need it. And then I'm going to take my fire poly. I don't need that anymore either. So I'm going to remove that. And now when I zoom back to my export output, I just have those polygons within Deschutes County, if that makes sense. So I don't have them all out there up to into Washington State and so forth. So this would have been our fire. We're going to call it fire perimeters. Deschutes County. And we can always rename that over here. It can't be that long of a title, but export output, probably not the best name for this convention. I'm going to do the same thing with those fire points. And so fire points, you're going to select those completely within Deschutes County. You could also clip them if you wanted to. That would be adequate. So we can run through that fire polys, so, or fire points. So we'll go up to selection, select by location. We want fire points 2010 within our Deschutes County. We can all just use the same selection feature, hit apply, and just move the screen out of your way. So you see that, yep, that's gonna looks about like the selection I would like. Go ahead and hit OK. Same thing, we're gonna right click on our fire points 2010, selection, create layer from selected features. It's gonna give us that temporary file. I'm gonna remove this one. I no longer need that. And now you see we're starting to zone in here or focus in on Deschutes County. So then I could data export data. And again, it's gonna be called export output 1. We're gonna say okay, or export output 2. We're gonna say yes. And then this would have been our fire points from 2010. Now, once you've done that, I start asking you some questions like, you know, how many fires were there from 2000 on? You can do that through just a select by attribute, or you can just simply write yourself a query. So you could do that in a definition query is one way to do that. Or you could just simply write yourself a query. So where you do that is going to be into your layer properties. And we'll let this load. Now, where there's problems in this data is when I get into, so as that loads, we can use this definition query, and you can build your own, follow along in the book, but you know, you could build your query. And what a definition query, remember, it's going to eliminate any information that does not it does not match your query. So anything that was before, so we want, before 2000, it's just going to get rid of it. So we're going to say is greater than or equal to. You can get unique value. I generally do that because it just makes life a little bit easier. And we're going to say 2000. And then with the definition query, it's gonna eliminate that information. So I still have this fire selection on there. That's why it's actually showcasing. So once I remove this layer, then anything we have in here would have been from 2000 and on. So it's just going to show in your attribute table how many fire points there are, and there's your answer, 430. So that's kind of a nice way to play with the data, and that's the intent that I was going for, not for mass confusion, which is seemingly what's going on. The other layers, if we get into this raster data set, this is a super nice data set that's looking at risk, high, very high, moderate, low. There's some problems with that though, in terms of when you zoom in on it, it's a great data set. It's a raster data set, but with rasters, they don't have size and shape, they just have value. So for us to ascertain information like how many acres from that raster is going to be a little bit more problematic. And then there's questions that I'm asking you too about this fuel model, because what this is looking at is the individual vegetation type. Realistically, we're not going to be able to pull information from that as well. So don't worry about those two last file types, bringing those in. We can get rid of this as well. I would just focus on, we'll zoom back to Deschutes County and generate your map with these couple of layers in mind, and call that good. And then make sure you have those 6 essential map elements, and you'll be able to answer about 3 out of those 5 questions, and you should be able to move on to the next step. So if you have any other questions, or the next project, if you have any other questions though this week, please let me know or stop by office hours. Remember, always stay psyched.